So for this question, most of you were able to get it. You knew that sum meant to add all these numbers together. One strategy, though, that I would share with you, because a lot of you just did like 66 plus 55 and you stacked that, and then you took that answer and you added 44, and you took that answer and you added 33, which takes way too long. So I'm going to just share a strategy that's a little bit quicker with you, where you pair up the numbers. For example, 66 and 11 equals 77. 55 and 22 also equals 77, and 44 and 33 also equals 77. So really, it's just 77 times 3, or 77 plus 77 plus 77. A really quick way to do that is 70 times 3, which is 210, plus 7 times 3, which is 21, and you get 231. So it's a lot faster using mental math strategies instead of just stacking and adding. And a lot of you need to get beyond stacking and adding and learn some mental math strategies to be able to do these questions a lot quicker. For the second question, a few of you were a little bit confused by what this meant. So one of the most straightforward ways to approach this question is to try different numbers of stickers. For example, if I have them in piles of 3, what number of stickers would give me 2 left over? Well, 5 would, because that's 1 pile of 3 with 2 left over. 8 would, that's 2 piles of 3 with 2 left over. 11 would, that's 3 piles of 3 with 2 left over, and so on. So we could just list all of the different things that work. Likewise, we could do the same for 4. So what's the first thing where we could arrange 4 into piles of 4 with 2 left over? That would be 6. That's 1 pile of 4 with 2 left over. The next would be 10. That's 2 piles of 4 with 2 left over. The next would be 14, and so on. What you will notice is that, hey, look, 14 works for both of those. So let's think about, if I had 14 stickers, how could I arrange them in piles of 12? Well, that would be 1 pile of 12. And what would be left over? 2. And then if you're not convinced, you could find the next one they have in common. If you kept going, the next one they have in common is 26. Well, that would be 2 piles of 12 with 2 left over. And so when we arrange them in piles of 12, how many are left over? There are 2 left over. You can also use sort of the least common multiple strategy. You know that 3 and 4, their least common multiple is 12. So if 3 has 2 left over and 4 has 2 left over, then 12 would also have to have 2 left. Most of you got this one right. So most of you approached this one and you recognized, for example, that this equaled 10, and that was right there. And so you said, well, that part's 10. So 10 plus a diamond has to be 22. So that means the diamond must be 12. Then you looked at this one and you said, okay, so if triangle plus 12 is 16, triangle must be 4. Then you went to this one and you said, if a square plus our triangle, or 4, is 10, then our square must be 6. And then you were able to say a diamond plus a square, so 12 plus 6, diamond plus square, or 12 plus 6, equals 18. And that was the answer. This one stumped quite a few of you. And what you had to do first is realize that the area of the total floor was 12 by 20, or 240 square units. The area of this square was 2 by 2, or 4. The area of this shape, you could split it up into that and that. This one is 3 and this one is 1. So its area is also 4. So right away, both of these shapes have an area of 4. So if we only used one type of shape, the best we can do is 60 tiles. Then what you have to consider is there a way that you can arrange these tiles to be more efficient so that you could use less than 60? So you have to start playing with like, how could you arrange these tiles? For example, you could take your L tiles and you could put them together like this. Or you could take your squares and put them together like this. Notice that these end up being the same thing. So regardless of what I do, I'm going to end up with 2 tiles taking 8 square units. And if you keep playing around with that, you're going to realize that it doesn't matter if you use all squares, if you use all L's, or if you actually use a combination of L's and squares. The smallest number of tiles that's going to completely cover the floor without overlapping any tiles will end up being 60. This last one also stumped a few of you, and again, I think that's maybe because you haven't maybe done enough work with area yet, and for some of you, especially if you're a younger student, remember if you're in grade 4 or grade 5 writing this contest, you're writing a contest at a disadvantage because it's a grade 6 level contest. So the first thing that you have to realize is that your area is 120. And it says that the lights are 1 every meter. So when it says there's 46 lights around the perimeter, because there's 1 every meter, 46 lights means 46 meters. So you know that the area is 120, and you know that the perimeter is 46. Remember that area is the length times the width, and perimeter is a length plus a length plus a width plus a width. So it's all the way around. So one strategy to approach this question would be simply to try different numbers that give you an area of 120. For example, 120 and 1. That's not going to be a perimeter of 46. So what might be the next thing? Well, 60 and 2. That's not going to work. So you could keep going, and you could see that the next one, for example, would be 40 and 3. Our perimeter will be getting smaller. Like here, 40 plus 40 plus 3 plus 3. We're at 86. We're closer to 46, but we're still not there. So we could keep coming up with areas that might work to give us 120. And when we do that, we eventually end up with 15 and 8. 15 plus 15 plus 8 plus 8 will give us a perimeter of 46. Then you just had to read the question. And it says, how long is the billboard? And it says that the length is greater than its height. So I'm using width here. Width, height, it means the same thing. So it's saying that this is going to be longer than this. So if my two numbers are 15 and 8, the question was how long. So what's my longest side? That'll be 15. And that's the answer to that question. If you have any questions about any of these, please let me know. Remember, the most important part of doing this is that you're taking a risk, that you're getting better at your problem solving. It doesn't matter how many you get right. What matters is that you're learning how to do each question and you're becoming a better problem solver.